Welcome. These are the top 5 tips I have if you're going to DIY your books. It's probably best for people doing under $50,000 in gross receipts, where they're just starting their business and you guys don't really have the funds to pay for bookkeeping and that kind of support. So let's dive in. This is okay. This is QuickBooks free. This is brand new. I've never used this before. So this is my number one recommendation. There's no reason to do spreadsheet accounting anymore or keep everything in a spreadsheet and send it to your CPA when it's tax time. It's free, so you don't have to pay anything. It does not allow an account user, so if you have a bookkeeper, it's not a workaround, unfortunately, to get a free QuickBooks subscription. It's also extremely limited. It limits 2 invoices per month. So if you're going to do a lot of invoicing and you want to use QuickBooks, your choices are to pay for QuickBooks for a higher subscription level if you want to do invoicing within QuickBooks, or pay for a third-party service to do that, depending on your industry. You're allowed to connect one bank account. That's it. So if you have a bank account and a credit card, I wouldn't recommend using QuickBooks free. I would recommend using Ledger, which does require an accountant user to set up for you, and we'll go over that next, shortly after this. The last highlight is only these 3 reports are available to you: profit and loss, balance sheet, account quick report, which I don't really use at all. The 2 key ones are balance sheet and profit and loss. Okay, Ledger. So this is QuickBooks Ledger. It's now down to $5 a month. I believe when it initially was rolled out, it was $15 a month and $10 a month with the Pro Advisor discount. It looks like now it's down to $5 a month. Again, you have to have an accountant user set this up for you. It has to be billed to the accounting firm itself, but it looks like you can run all the reports. I've actually used this myself. It has more than just the balance sheet, profit and loss, and account quick report. It also doesn't have that limitation on bank accounts. So that is also a plus if you have a credit card or something else that you use. It allows one user, but the other one said it doesn't allow an accountant user. It does allow an accountant user. So you can log on and your accountant can log on as well in this subscription, which is unique to it because the free version does not allow accountant access. Point number 2, vendor descriptions. What's really nice about this feature is back in the day, we had to go and look up these vendors every single time. Now, I wouldn't go ahead and 100% trust everything that it populates here. However, if it's a vendor you recognize but you just can't remember, you're like, oh, what does that company do again? If this quick overview can help refresh your memory, it makes it really quick to just be like, oh yeah, that's right, that's what they do. That's probably going to be rental equipment expense. You can even see here, it recommends an equipment rental account. It's already loaded up in that account, equipment rental. You can see that there. Another quick way to do that is to go to categorization history. And you can see it in this example. I just pulled a random example because this is a sample account, but no transactions in the last 24 months. If they are, they will show what account was used previously. As most smaller specialized companies, you'll typically put them in one account. If they're larger companies like Target, Office Max, Amazon, Red Meyer, those kinds of things, they offer a lot of different products. You'll be getting multiple things basically. So categorization history is not as helpful for those big box stores if you're purchasing a lot of those, which most of you guys probably are because they can compete on price very well. Okay, rules. So under this accounting, we're going to go to rules. And here it's going to show you all the rules that you can use. What the rules do is they automate bookkeeping, for example, those small specialized companies. Let's go back to A1 Rentals. So we know for this business, let's just say all they do is rent equipment from this business. You can create a rule from this, and typically we're going to want to look at the bank description, which is QuickBooks' version of the bank feed. The bank description on your actual statement itself, that is. So create rule, and this is kind of the syntax I use, A1 rental equipment. Bank text, that's correct. Contains, you can do it exactly. You can test the rule by doing this. One apply is exactly, currently applies to 0. So typically I do contains, and I do at least 3 different words in sequence. So that way, if there are bank descriptions that are very similar, it's still specific enough to where everything is categorized correctly for that specific vendor you're looking for. Payee, I would recommend putting in the payee because remember, you're creating a rule to automate this. Now, you can have this on auto post. At the beginning, when you're first starting a rule, especially if you're new to bookkeeping, I would turn this off. And essentially what that's going to look like is when there is a match found, it is not going to automatically categorize that transaction for you. It's actually going to show up in that highlighted green text in the match column, as you'll see later. The final point is I always keep the existing bank memo. You don't want to overwrite all the bank memo to include this bank text because it will do that if you do not check that box. So hit save. So now when we go and we look at this, we can see it says rule. So as you're going through QuickBooks, you see it's a rule. That means you're like, okay, I was pretty sure this is the actual expense account I want to use in the vendor. You just want to double check, make sure that vendor is correct, and then you can go ahead and hit post, and that'll categorize the transaction for you. Matches. So this is a quick way to process the bank feed. Click matches. It's going to sort by matches, which means all matches are first, and you can just click match if this is correct. If it's a check, it might have or a check deposit, it might have a check image attached to it depending on the bank you use. You can go ahead and look at that and say, yep, that's correct. If there's multiple matches, you are going to have to look through. And it's really nice that they have it like this now because it just makes it really easy to see. These are all the matches that we see. This is a check, this is the cash expense. You just say, okay, this one's on 613. This is 613, so it's probably not the 661, right? We're going to match it to the 613. And there you go. And matches are kind of like the easiest thing to process in the bank feed, which is why it can be a good practice to sort by matches first. Go through all your matches. You can see there's bill payments and all sorts of other things in here. Now, my final tip is if you're trying to close really quickly and you just say, I just want to close out May. Well, now we're sorting by date, so we can just process all the May transactions here and then go to reconcile and reconcile your books. One last thing, I always recommend using vendors for expenses and customers for sales. The reason why, if you use a vendor for a sale or a customer for an expense, when you go and you look up the vendor down here in the vendor section of expenses and bills, you are not going to see that transaction. And let's just go ahead and do an example. Let's do books by Bessie. So you can see all these transactions in here. Of course, this is a sample account, which is why there's all these transactions. It's funny that they actually put one to bookkeeper and one to accounting. Interesting. Um, but if you were to use a customer, Books by Bessie, for example, if you accidentally input them as a customer, that transaction would not show up here. So if someone is both a vendor and a customer, I recommend editing the name, putting V next to it for the vendor, and having the customer one just be the straight name. It's a quick and easy way to know, okay, this is the vendor version. You want to be using the vendor version for expenses and the customer for sales. Those are my top 5, I would say, little tips and tricks. I went on a few tangents there, but that's kind of the basis of using QuickBooks. Again, you can see all these transactions in here at the beginning. You're going to have very minimal transactions. It's probably not going to take a long time. If you're using the free version of QuickBooks, you're more than likely not going to have many matches or things like that because you're very limited. Thank you for watching this video. Feel free to like, subscribe. We go over QuickBooks related tips and tricks, accounting services, and then tax tips and strategies as well. I'm a licensed CPA. I work with small business owners that do over $50,000 in gross receipts, primarily in the state of Oregon, with the capacity to work in all 50 states. I have experience working with clients in Oregon, Colorado, Arizona, New York, and Idaho, as well as I've done a few clients in Washington. So I have experience in multiple states. If you feel like the service may be a good fit for you, go ahead and check out our website. It's quantbookkeeping.net, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.